Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. I'm sitting here in my office. I had a request to look at the numerology and astrology of JD Vance. And so I had to do some research because JD Vance has three different names. And in numerology, when you have a legal name change, it doesn't your name change doesn't actually um, kick in, so to speak, until you've had your new name, as long as you had your old name. And so just some technical things, just to explain how I work with the numbers and the type of numerology that I've been taught through my teachers. Um, and then we'll also look at his astrological chart. I went online to see if we had an accurate birth time, and I got something from Astrodienst. We have a birth time for him, 8:11 a.m. p.m. I don't know. I have it. We'll look at it. I can't remember if it's a.m. or p.m. But I'll tell you when we get there. So just to give you a sense of his name and these name changes that he had, and I have to say that even though I do trust, well, maybe it was Astro Data Bank that I got the information from. They're usually pretty good. There was a copy of his birth certificate with the time on it. The only problem is the name on the birth certificate was his second name, not his name when he was born. So I don't know how that works. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm assuming that the information I have is correct. If you know otherwise, you can always put it in the comments or email me. Or if you want to email me, the email address is below in the drop down. Okay, so he was born James Donald Bowman, August 2nd, 1984 in Middletown, Ohio. And according to, actually, let me just jump to the chart here. You're not going to see me do this, but I'll tell you what time he was born. Those of you who may want to follow along. Uh, what do we have here? 8:11 a.m. That's right. That's right. He's got his son in the 12th house. Okay. Excellent. So we're going to look at his numbers, but let me just explain what's going on. So James Donald Bowman, he was born with that name at the age of 6, I believe. His mother remarried. I think this was her third husband, um, who adopted um, James, JD, and his mother changed his name to James David. She changed the middle name because she wanted to keep the JD nickname, and didn't want him to have his father. I think his father's name was Donald. His birth father's name was Donald. So wanted Donald out of there and put David in, and then took the last name of her most recent husband, Hamill. So at age 6, he legally became James David Hamill. Now that didn't actually happen. He didn't start vibrating at that name until he was 12. So his first 12 years of life, he was James Donald Bowman vibrationally. When he turned 12, then that James David Hamill kicked in. Now he has one last name change. He changed his name in 2014 to James David Vance. Now he got the name Vance from his Mima or Mama or Papa, Mama, I think they call it, is what he said, because he felt like she was the person who took care of him. Okay. But he did that in 2014 at the age of 32. So even though we know him as JD Vance, that name isn't vibrated in until he's 64 years old. So if we're all around long enough to see how that name changed, if he's around, if we're around, and the like. But so his name, JD Vance, James David Vance, is actually works like an outfit that he puts on. Okay, so when you have a name like this applies to, women who get married and change their name. Legally, it is a legal name change, but in the numerology that I've learned is it does not count as your new vibration. It is a vibration that you're trying on. So a lot of women have their name and then the name that if they end up getting married. So there's two names that women work with, right? Um, and so that's how that works. Now, it has to be a legal name change. You have to go to the courts and change the name that in that respect. I have had some people who've had excuse me, um, they've had things changed around their passport, but I'm not sure the legality of that. So, I mean, it's legal. I mean, people do it, but I don't know if that counts as a legal name change. Honestly, I'll have to ask my teacher. All right. So that's the deal with the technical aspect. So let's take a look at um, James David Hamill's vibration. All right. Let me see here. We're going to share a screen. And okay. So let's look at his name when he was born. Um, okay, here we go. James David. Okay, that's not where I have listed all kinds of places here. Okay, here we go. Birth name. All right, I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can all see it because I can barely see it as it is. Okay, so we have a birth name of James Donald Bowman. James Donald Bowman. So when you're looking at somebody's name, and this is his name, this is the name that he has, that he's in vibration of, even though he's now known as JD Vance. Um, so when you look at a name, you take out the vowels, you add them together, you get a vibration. You take out the consonants, you add them together, you get a vibration. So the vowels are considered the soul vibration, and the consonants, the quiescent, or also known as the outer personality vibration. And then when you add those two together, we get something called the expression. So we have the inner, the outer, and the balance point. So for his first 12 years of life, now we have to remember, I don't know if you remember being 12 years old, but that is a significant period of time. You by 12, you're starting to assert yourself as the teenager. Your solar plexus is getting activated. You want to assert yourself. He had a very difficult, what it seems like a very difficult childhood. Now I know he spoke of it in Hillbilly Elegy. I did not read the book, although I have a very good friend who read the book and thought it was an excellent book. This guy is very smart and I imagine a very good writer. So he does have that. It's in his chart. It's all over everything. But he's still, he's, what I've noticed with people who have these name changes when they happen at significant points in their life, I'm not going to say it messes them up, but it takes a really, I think, together person, or perhaps together soul. And maybe that's what I want to say, a together soul to hold that energy in check without getting confused or having it confuse you as to who you are. So it's not an easy thing to have name changes like this. I had one client once who had four name changes in her life, and of the four, three of them actually, she had the names long enough for the other one to kick in. And then when she had a new name, the last name was still vibrating. And then finally she got into the last name. And I think when I read her, she might have been in her 50s at that point. I can't quite remember, and I don't remember her name at all. And if it's you, I wouldn't use your name anyway. But there is this, and if I remember correctly, because it was a number of years ago, she was having some like identity issues. And so people who have to hold these numbers like this can have identity issues. And really, it depends on how strong they are, I think, as a soul to hold it together. And we'll look at his chart and we'll see the chances of him holding stuff together or not. So, and of course, this is an evaluation. I don't really know this gentleman. And we all have our stories, but he is now the vice president. He's the Republican vice president presidential nominee. And so once you put yourself in that position, you're putting yourself out there, and we can utilize these tools to help us understand who this person might be. Okay, so I've said all that, and you're probably saying, well, when are you going to get to the numbers, Skirbo? Well, I'm going to get to the numbers now. So up to the age of 12, his soul vibration was a 20/2, and his outer personality was a 38/11. Now, your soul vibration is the inner self. Um, It depends. At 12, I don't know how aware we are of our inner self, or maybe we could say we're only aware of our inner self at that point. But I want to say that a 20/2, 2 is a very sensitive vibration. So we have somebody here who's a very sensitive soul. It's also a vibration on the tree of life that's located along the paths on the tree of life. And this particular 20/2 vibration in the system I use is the judgment card, the awakening soul. Okay. Judgment, inevitability. Okay. Could be judgy, could feel judged. His outer personality is the Queen of Cups, another sensitive vibration, and an 11. So your outer personality is often, and this is something that, especially for boys, I think they're used to it. It's a sensitive vibration. I feel like this is a very sensitive young man in a very difficult situation. If he says his life was as it was, and it's indicated in his chart, it's not that I don't believe him. I mean, why write a book? I mean, you can lie about a lot of things, but I think that the core of feeling like an outsider, feeling like he doesn't belong, and all of that stuff was actually true, because we're talking about a young man with a very sensitive nature. When you add those two vibrations together, we get a 58/4 vibration. That's the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords, you do feel isolated. You feel separate from, and often that vibration indicates somebody who feels like they are where, like a man without a country, or a person without a home. There's this sense of being a bit of a, what's the word? When I was young, I remember watching a movie called The Man Without a Country. And I think he was probably in some sort of position of power, maybe like a congressperson or somebody in a state legislator or something. It was back in I think the 17 or 1800s. I don't, you may know what I'm talking about, you may not. But at one point he got so frustrated, he says he denounced his citizenship or his country, like in front of everybody, and they said, oh yeah, okay, well then you get to live the rest of your life without a country. And I remember watching the movie and feeling really sad for him. He did love his country, but in a moment of like whatever anger, he spoke against it, and then he paid for it without ever feeling like he ever had a home. So this vibration, this 58/4 vibration, is somebody who really doesn't feel like they have a home. And so this is a sensitive person who feels like an outcast. Really, that's the energy of this. And that's up to age 12. Now, at age 6, his name was changed to James David Hamill. So now we have a new vibration, but this vibration doesn't kick in until, as I said, 12. So he's still living with a new name with the old vibration. So from 6 to 12, he's still in that very sensitive soul vibration. So we come into, at 12 years old, James David Hamill finally kicks in. And remember, he still has this vibration now. So his soul vibration, when you add it together, is a 22. Now, the 22 is a master number. It is the vibration of the Fool. It is associated with Uranus in the chart, but it is a master spiritual builder vibration. But because it's connected with Uranus, this is somebody who is going to break the status quo, like his natural tendency. You can be, with this vibration, insecure. 4 is the vibration of crisis, but crisis and opportunity. So this is somebody who's in a way used to crisis and can use it as an opportunity. And we see that now because if we can call the whole Trump thing anything, we can call it a crisis. And this guy sees it as an opportunity. Okay, so that's his inner soul. Also, the four is the vibration of the builder. So he has a natural understanding of how to build things, how to structure things. His outer personality is a 33-6 vibration. This is the vibration, also a master number. So we're looking, so here's a soul that went from this highly sensitive, feeling like an outsider energy, and now comes into this master energy, right? The 22 and the 33. Um, I don't know, what you could say about that. Is that mean that he is an advanced soul and all of this? It's possible this guy is an advanced soul, and advanced soul doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing all good things for everyone, because everybody plays a part, right? Everybody plays a part. But let's continue to go, and we'll look at his chart and everything else and make some evaluations about that. So the 33-6 is actually a vibration of compassion. 6 generally is family oriented. So there's a real sort of love of family with a 6, and a sense of responsibility to family, and also community. Community. It is a vibration connected with Christ consciousness. All right. And it is the 7 of Wands in the tarot. It's a Leo vibration in the system that I use, and he has his sun in Leo, and I believe his Mercury in Leo. Well, we'll look at his chart when we get there. When we add these two vibrations together, we get another we get the balance vibration. And if you add 22 and 33 together, you get a 55. That is the Ace of Swords. Okay, the Ace of Swords. On the Tree of Life, this is very significant. And I'm going to just pull my tree here. I haven't constructed a Tree of Life for him yet. So let me do this so we can look at this in a bigger perspective. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's the Tree of Life, okay? Now, the top of the Tree of Life is Kether, and Spirit comes through Kether, moves over to Hokmah, over to Bina, over to Hesed, over to Geburah, through Tippereth, to Netzach, to Hod, to Yesod, and down to Malkuth. On the Tree of Life, the only place that's manifested in, like, where you can feel it and touch it, like my computer I'm tapping here, is in Malkuth. Everything else is on higher levels and energetic. Okay. Now, the 22-4 vibration, the Fool, sits here on the Tree of Life. So it's very high up on the tree. It's on the path between the first Sephiroth, Kether, meaning crown, to the second Sephiroth, Hokmah, meaning wisdom. Hokmah is associated with the planet Aquarius, and also the zodiac. Did I say Aquarius? Uranus. Aquarius isn't a sign. All right, so excuse me for that. Hokmah, Kether to Hokmah. This is divinity. This is unity consciousness, and Hokmah is divine masculine. So this is the direct connection between divinity and the energy of the divine masculine. When we come over here, this is Bina, this is the divine feminine. And so this is called the supernal triangle, androgyny, equality, masculine, feminine. Okay, all great religions deal with trinities, right? So he has his soul right here. So that's a soul that's tapped in, and but it's Uranus. The Fool card is associated with Uranus. So not only are we dealing with Uranus here in Hokmah, but the path that his soul sits on is a Uranian path. And one of the things that Trump has brought through in this at this time is that Uranian energy, that chaos energy, that awakening energy, right? So he is not. He's also, this guy's also maybe into chaos theory, right? Okay, well, whatever that means. I don't know what I'm saying here. Okay, so 22 sits here. The 33 sits down here in Netzach in the lower self. The 33 is his outer personality. Not every man is aware of his inner feminine self, because that's what his 22. The soul is the inner feminine. The outer masculine, yes. So this is something that he is familiar with, his 33 vibration. Now, 33 can be the martyr, or it can sort of align with that energy of martyrdom. It is the Christ consciousness. Christ wasn't just a martyr, that's part of the story, right? He is the Redeemer. Christ is the Redeemer. Christ is being Christed, means rising. Actually, Christ sits here, okay, on the tree of life. So this is in the lower self. This is the solar plexus energetically. We have the root, the sacral chakra, the heart. Wait, root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown, connection to source. So he has his soul here, his outer personality here. But when you add those two together, we come up here to Kether. 55-1 is the Ace of Swords. It's the Ace of Truth. And that's the balance place. So we're balancing his emotions, that Netzach is the place of emotions, with this sort of wakened soul energy or chaos. Okay. And then the balance of those two is this, his choices, the Ace of Swords. Now, I want to say, when you have vibrations high in the tree, you have more influence. Okay. So anybody who has things up in Kether has more of an influence below. And what that means is that when you do good, really good things come of it. When you do bad, you mess up a lot of things. Like, you can really mess things up. I'll give you a couple of examples. Kamala Harris has her soul here, 27-9. Barack Obama has his soul here, 27-9. Martin Luther King had a major vibration, might have been his soul, or his path, I can't remember, up here. Okay, all of those, well, certainly most people see Kamala as, we're not really sure yet, but let me tell you, this woman is, you'll be sure when it's done. Let me tell you. Anyway, so she's up there. Michael Cohen, his path of life, 55-1. He had to make a choice. He chose the light, choice between light and dark. E. Jean Carroll had her shadow up here. Your shadow in your chart is the gift that if you heal it, it becomes the light for the rest of us. And she was able to heal it by calling Trump to count for what he did. And it changed everything. It shifted the energy when a woman who had been molested or sexually abused 30 years prior comes and says to the most powerful man in the world at that time, you did this to me and I'm going to stand up to you. And then he's found guilty for it. That is a huge shift. Okay. So when you have things here, so the reason I'm pointing this out is because I think it's important for us to realize what's at stake here. Now, I'm not saying that he's a terrible person, but he has a lot of potential for good or for not so good. So that's just something that we want to keep in mind with this guy. Okay. So let me just go back to where we were. All right. Hopefully this isn't going to be too long. I might have to do his chart separately. We'll see. I'll see how long this goes. All right. So we have three master numbers here. We have a 22, a 33, and a 55. Now, his path of life is your birthday. This is your lesson. And his path of life is the 32-5 vibration. Now, the 32-5 in the tarot is the Six of Wands. This is connected. The word America vibrates to a 32-5. So people who have 32-5 in their charts are generally, they do well in America. but they also are in a way emblematic of America. Now, 5 is about freedom, and the 32-5 is an understanding that freedom is based on responsible action. That's in its most pure sort of sense. The 32-5 on the tree of life, oops, is located in the center of the tree here in Tiphereth. This is Tiphereth or beauty. It's connected to the heart chakra. It's about balance and mediation. Okay. And of course, the Ace of Swords is also, it's the sword of justice. So there's a certain amount of mediation that comes with that as well. Now, the United States path for the United States is a 32-5. So that's the lesson, learning what it takes to be free. But it's also the shadow of the United States. And so what it's like, what's the cost of freedom? Who's really free? Are we true? Are we truly free, right? Can we be free on our own, just free to do what the hell you want? Or do you need community? The 6 of Wands, the 32-5 is located in Tiphereth. Tiphereth is about coming together as a community, 6 vibration. It's the 6 Sephiroth. 6 is about responsibility and service, an ability to respond. It's not an energy of, it's all about me. Okay, now he has his sun, which is connected to Tiphereth in Leo. Leo can be, it's all about me. And his sun is conjunct Trump's Pluto. So Trump becomes a very significant influence for him. And of course, Trump has a way of showing people who they truly are, exposing people for who they really are. Okay, so now he at some point is going to have a choice and is going to be exposed. And it's already happening, it's already starting, but we'll continue. We'll just go on here. I want to point out that, remember how I said E. Jean Carroll's shadow was the Ace of Swords, and her standing up to the most powerful man on the planet at that time, after 30 years, having to say what happened to her, having to tell people how it changed her life, how difficult that must have been, because she would have preferred not to have to say anything. Her wound is that facing the truth kind of thing. She faced the truth. She found her voice with the help of her great team, her great legal team. And she stood up to Trump, and it became a light that shone for all of us that yes, you can speak up against power, truth to power, the sword of truth to power. Um, um, Michael Cohen choosing the truth, going to jail, could have lost his life. It was during COVID. He could have caught something. He had a bad heart. I mean, it was a scary time for him. And we can see the transformation. We've seen the transformation that he's gone through. And that wasn't his shadow. That was his path. And it was powerful. When it's your shadow, it's especially powerful. So I bring that up because Kamala Harris, her shadow is at 32-5. And it's in her heart. So this is really about the promise of America. And both these individuals are here to show us something about how to heal the shadow, the wounds of the United States. Okay. So there's that energy. Now, his path of life is the same path of life that he was born with, because you get your path of life, no matter what your name is, from your birthday. Okay, so, and then there's the shadow. And the shadow is what you've come in to heal in this lifetime. Now, we get the shadow from your first name and the day of your birth. Because JD Vance did not ever get his first name changed, he was always James. His path of life, I mean, his shadow has been the same throughout all these name changes. And even when he turns 64 and he goes into his JD Vance vibration, he will still have the same shadow and the same path. And his shadow is, oops, let me pull this up and I'll show you, is a 14-5. It's temperance. Now, temperance on the tree of life sits, I will do this again. Okay, where are we? Oops, sorry, I'm having a moment here. Okay, that's what I want to do. Temperance on the tree of life is on this path back here, this blue one. This is called the path of the mystic. It is going straight up the tree, up the pillar of transformation, bridging the lower self to the higher self. Okay, the moon to the sun, the feelings, the emotions. Okay, he has his moon in Capricorn, conjunct his south node. His emotions have been suppressed. To the sun, he's got his sun in Leo, self-expression. Okay, this is where his shadow is. Temperance is a karmic number. 14-5 is considered a karmic number. It's the great builder. It's called the builder, destroyer, and builder vibration. It's associated with Sagittarius. And JD Vance has his south node in Sagittarius. He has his north node in Gemini. He has Uranus conjunct his south node. So your south node is your childhood, the emotional energy around your childhood, very chaotic, looking for something to believe in, perhaps. And it's the same nodal placement that Trump has. So we can see that there's a resonance here between him and Trump. So this is a really difficult shadow. It's a difficult path to trod when it's not your shadow. Temperance is about staying away from extremes. It's about being exposed to extremes without being drawn into extremes. And he is now the candidate for the MAGA movement. So you decide if he's in this. So this JD Vance is in his way an advanced soul who's getting tested. An advanced soul who's getting tested. So we will see how he does with that. All right. I'm going to leave it there. What I do want to say is when he's 64 and his name changes, his soul vibration remains the same. It remains the 22-4. His outer personality goes from a 33 to a 30. So it goes from here, which is the Sephiroth of Venus, to here, which is the Sephiroth of Jupiter. But that doesn't happen till he's 64. And that changes his expression from the Ace of Wands to the Queen of Wands. And let's see, does it change anything else? No. All right, so let's jump to his chart. All right, let's look at his astrological chart. Now, I'll be relatively brief with this. We can always look at it at another time more specifically. So we have August 2nd, 1984, 8:11 a.m., Middletown, Ohio. That's Butler County. If anybody is pulling it up for themselves, there's a couple of, I guess, there's Middletown, New Jersey, right? Middletown everywhere. So we have a Leo. His Venus is in Leo. Okay, so he's got Sun in Leo, Venus in Leo, Leo rising. So that's 3 planets in Leo, although his Leo is in the 12th house. Now, I just want to point out that this Trump's Mars sits right here, okay, in his chart. On his Trump's Mars, his Venus are conjoined. And Trump's Pluto is at about 10 something of Leo in the 12th house as well. They both have Leo rising off a degree off of each other. And so there is this sense, or two, yeah, about 1.5 degrees maybe. Trump's Leo is like 30 degrees of Leo, 29 something of Leo. So already we have these two Leo risings. So there can be this sort of fight between ego here. And if Trump makes it to the election and this guy doesn't take his place, because now he's he would be the person to take over the MAGA, which of course Thiel, who backs him up, would probably like that. So there may be not, it depends. So this whole election, if Trump survives and he gets in, he'll have his energy into this. And if um, Trump does survive till the election and then wins, then loses, this guy is still, I think, still around and can be a potent force for that movement, whatever that movement becomes, whether Trump's there or not, because of the synchronicity of their energies. All right, so I want to say that he's got his Mercury in Virgo. So this is somebody who's very detail oriented, usually very good at writing and you would think speaking, but so far he doesn't seem to have had much luck in public speaking. It's not his natural place, his North Node in the 10th house in Gemini. He's learning how to publicly speak. And the only thing he has up there, now remember, Trump has this as well. He has his North Node in Gemini in the 10th house, but he's got the sun there, he's got Uranus there. This guy only has Chiron. Chiron is the wounds. Chiron in Gemini, not being heard, not being able to speak. Okay. Here's his South Node conjunct Uranus. This is a very unstable childhood, very difficult childhood. He also has Mercury, which is the ruler of his North Node, the ruler of his 11th house, which is friends and organizations, and also the ruler of his house of money, square his nodes. So, and square Chiron. Mercury square Chiron, this can be a liar, a tale teller, okay? A teller of tales. With Mercury square the nodes, for himself, he needs to apply his mind to finding his voice and telling his story, okay, which he kind of has done, right? He's kind of done that. All right, so let's see what else we have. We have a moon in Libra. So he does seek Libra moons seek validation through their relationships. I think his relationship to his wife is very precious to him, and his children are very precious to him. And now he has this relationship to Trump. He may have a similar choice that he has to make, right? Between his family and his ambition. Is he ambitious? Oh, yeah, he's ambitious. First of all, he's got Saturn in Scorpio, and he's got Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is very powerful. This is actually, I think, the same degree as Oprah Winfrey's Mars. Down in that second house, all of this energy down a fourth house, difficult childhood, very difficult, maybe some abuse here of a Scorpio kind. All right. In the fifth house, he's got Neptune and Jupiter. This can also be somebody who's telling tales or creating, a lot of people say that his hillbilly elegy was fiction. And perhaps it was, but it is in fact, part of his did I said he had a moon in Capricorn. He does not. He has a moon in Libra. So what other people think of him is very important to him. So the question is, who has the most influence? Who has the most influence over him? Is it his family and his children and his wife? who is very ambitious in her way, but hopefully she cares more about her children and the like, and the things that hopefully what she loves is more important than the other stuff. So we'll see. But this is somebody who emotionally is there's a lot of, I think, unexpressed emotions. He also has Pluto balls, I mean, the sun, no, the moon, I'm sorry, the moon balsamic to Pluto. And according to Jeff Green, this combination is somebody who has some questioning about their orientation, their gender. Also, we will see gender, whatever you want to call it, gender issues, we'll call it, when you have the nodes in the 10th and the 4th house. So there's some confusion around gender here. So that's where I'm just going to keep that. If he was my client, I might or might not bring that up, but that is something that you see in clients, people who have this set up. So he does have, this guy is very smart. And if he chose to do what was right, and if he chose to move in the direction of the light, he could be a very powerful aid and he may end up being a very powerful aid in our evolution, even if he doesn't choose the light, because certainly that's the case with Trump, right? He's been very significant in our evolution, and yet he chooses the darkness. So it's not a moral thing. It's just how the energy is being expressed. So what I would say about JD Vance at this point, from what just this little bit that we're looking at here, there is the potential for good in this guy. Just like there's the potential for good in all of us. But it's always about a choice, and this is going to be his choice. So you have a choice. You get to pick who you want as president, right? So make your choices and send the light to both Kamala, who while things are looking good, it's gonna be a hard scrabble. It's not that nothing like just goes like this, right? Because it seems like humans need to struggle in order to feel like they've accomplished it. But also, sending light to JD and his family, especially. I think his family is probably in a difficult position right now, simply because of the horse he decided to join his cart to. He said in his book that he's been looking for these male role models, and I think Peter Thiel has been one of them, very significant in his life, probably convinced him to write his book, and the Tiger Lady, all these people are significant. It's a good story. It's a good story to tell, but also there's this like cold ambition that comes with all those people, and there ain't nobody colder and more ambitious than Trump. So this is going to be a test for JD Vance. We'll see whether he passes it or the decision that he makes. Um, but what I would say, just vote for Kamala. And we can watch it, and it doesn't have to be part of the United States. It doesn't need to be the hellscape that Trump has been for us. So all right, guys. Hopefully this is helpful. You requested it, so I gave it to you. Have yourself a great day. If you enjoy this, if you find this interesting, I just want to say I do these readings for regular folk. You don't have to be a hillbilly. um, and the links are below for that. I do hour and a half readings. If it's your first one, I would suggest the hour and a half because there's a lot of information. I look at your chart, I look at your numbers, and I look at your tree of life. And also, I'm going to be doing a introduction to the Kabbalah. It's 2 classes really. You don't have to take both of them. You have to, if you want to take, you have to take the first one. That one you have to take. You don't have to continue and take the second one. If you don't want to, you can't take the second one without the first one, because the first one gives you all the sort of the basic of the tree of life. So, first one is the more sort of the structure of the tree of life, the more technical stuff, the more sort of esoteric and somewhat difficult, dense material of it. I mean, maybe natural. Some people just naturally take to the tree. You tree climbers out there. And then the second one, I show you how I work with the tree of life, and how I, with the astrology and the numerology and the chakras and the Kabbalah and you know, all the astrology. Did I say that? Numerology, chakras, energies, you know, and the like. So if you're interested in that, the first one, the introduction to the Kabbalah, will be starting in September. And I am going to put it on the website within the next, well, I'll call the guy, I'll send the guy now and tell him to put it on, so you guys can know when that's going to start. But have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Namaste.